What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Malcolm, and for today's series that we're going to be talking about, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite new gens in recent memory, selling over 7 copies in 2024, and will hopefully have a good anime adaptation because at the time of recording this, the anime has not come out yet. Today, I'm going to be talking about John Wick with a convenience store. We are going to be talking about Sakamoto Days. As I was saying, Sakamoto Days is one of the favorite mangas that I've read recently, and honestly a breath of fresh air in these new gen shonens. And I'm not saying that new gen shonens are bad, it's just that when you've been in the game for as long as I've been reading manga since I was 8 years old, they start to repeat themselves. The Hell's Paradises, the Kaiju number 8s, and I'm not saying they're bad. Again, I want to preface this. I am not saying new gen shonens are bad, I'm just saying that it was kind of a breath of fresh air in this landscape. So for this video, I will be tackling minor spoilers. So if you want to watch the Sakamoto Days anime with no spoilers at all, this is probably not the video for you. I won't include too much because I still want people to enjoy these series, but I think that when you do a review or speak about a video with spoilers, you are able to just talk about more things. So if you haven't seen the Sakamoto Days anime, if you haven't read the manga, probably don't watch this video. So what does Sakamoto Days talk about? You follow the story of Taro Sakamoto, which is an ex-hitman, and not just any hitman, he was the best hitman in the world. He was like John Wick, so that's why when I talk about this series, I say John Wick meets Kim Convenience. For those who don't know, Kim's Convenience is a Canadian sitcom where this Korean dad and his family just own a convenience store. So that's pretty much what Sakamoto Days is. You combine John Wick with Kim's Convenience and you basically get Sakamoto Days. Kind of a weird mixture, but anyway, so this hitman, he's been retired for 5 years, and the reason he retired is because he fell in love. Much like John Wick, he ended up having a wife, and instead of a dog, he has a daughter. So the beginning of the series starts with Shin, who is an empath, an esper or telepath, I don't remember. Somebody with mental abilities that is hired by the JAA, which is the Japanese Assassination Association, basically the NBA of hitmen's, I guess. And they send Shin to try to kill Sakamoto, which Shin fails because even though Sakamoto has been retired for 5 years, he is still pretty strong, you know? Like, the fall off from 2013 LeBron to 2020 LeBron is still better than like 99% of NBA players, and it's kind of the same thing in this series. He is weaker than he was in his prime, but he still can beat the crap out of most opponents that he is going to face in the series. So after Shin fails to kill Sakamoto, he decides to work for him in his convenience store because his wife told him that he cannot kill anybody. So now they just work at a convenience store. And they work for a while until another assassin comes, and another, and another, and another, until we realize that the reason everybody is after Sakamoto is because somebody put a 1 billion yen bounty on Sakamoto, and that's kind of where the plot kicks in. At the beginning, it's kind of like Monster of the Week. You kind of get introduced to the people that are going to work with Sakamoto at his convenience store. They all just like Monster of the Week, a la JoJo's Part 3 for like a few chapters, and then the plot actually kicks in. But why do I believe that this manga is one of the best new gens in recent memory? Well, I think it executes something at such an elite level, and you would think that that would be something that should be a given because we are talking about battle shonens here. It's the fights. My goodness. If the anime does the fights justice, we are going to see some of the coolest fights we have seen in a recent memory. I'm talking Prime JJK, Fate, like Prime Fate, Prime Demon Slayer. If the studio doesn't mess this up, we are going to get that level of fights, because that's how good I think the fights in Sakamoto Days are. Now, why are they so good? Well, first of all, one thing I think they have is creativity. And they don't have a power system per se. Like for example, in Dragon Ball you have Ki, in Naruto you have Chakra, in One Piece you have Haki and Devil Fruits, and Hunter x Hunter you have Nen. They don't really have that. The characters just throw hands, but it's the way they throw hands and how the action is so fun to read. And the reason it's so fun to read is because I remember this skit that RDC World did, that how people in anime be having the most weird weapons. That's
enough. Your weakness disgusts me.
Oh no, what he got? Oh, he got a sword. That's kind of normal. Okay, we good.
Wait, this isn't the right weapon.
What? A piece of paper?
Yes, a piece of paper.
Oh my God. Oh, what does it do? Don't even tell me. It destroyed this field or something? What does it do?
The field? That's cute. One fold from this paper will destroy the entire earth.
It is in Sakamoto Days. Now you'll have your classic guns, you'll have your classic swords or knives, but just the sheer amount of crazy weapons that people be using in Sakamoto Days is ridiculous. Especially Sakamoto, because Sakamoto doesn't really have a main weapon. His fighting style kind of reminds me of Jackie Chan. So a lot of the time Jackie Chan in those kid-friendly movies, he wouldn't really like use a gun or a knife. Now he would, but he wouldn't, like, it wasn't his main thing. He would usually use like his surroundings to beat the people, and that's kind of what Sakamoto does. I remember once in one arc, the characters all get like RNG weapons. So anybody gets whatever weapon. So some people get knives, some people get guns, other people get wacky stuff. And Sakamoto gets like a mechanical pencil. And I have to show this. Like, he just flicks the mechanical pencil and it basically becomes like a bullet because he just flicks it so hard. Just the way he uses his weapons is like so absurd. And one thing that's kind of funny is that you're supposed to assume that like everybody's like a regular human, but the things we see them do, there's no way they're regular. It's like Fast and Furious, you know, when you see like The Rock tanking like rubber bullets to the face and is just shrugging them off like he's Luke Cage. That's pretty much what happens in Sakamoto Days. I remember one time he's fighting somebody, and then I'll show a panel of this. He like jumps so hard on one side of the, like he puts so much weight on one side of the plane that he basically catapults the other character in the air and then jumps so high like he's Saitama or something and like drop kicks the person down to the ground, and somehow both of them are alive. Just the way they fight. I can't preface this enough. If they animate this correctly, we are going to get some of the most entertaining fights, especially later on. Beginning, there's one fight that I can think of that is going to be pretty good, but later on, if if this keeps going, this is going to be incredible. Another thing that I noticed as I was reading this is that this reminds me of Rurouni Kenshin. So for those who don't know Rurouni Kenshin, it's an older anime or manga. I mean, I read the manga, but it's an older one. I do not condone any actions that the author has done. I am simply talking about his piece of work. So Rurouni Kenshin is one of the best shonens, just period. I recommend anybody should read it. It's a great story. And as I was reading Sakamoto Days, it kind of reminded me of that. So Rurouni Kenshin is basically this ex-hitman, but instead of in more modern times, it takes place in like the 1800s or like Edo, Japan, I think. So a little bit after the samurai era. And you follow this character called Kenshin, or Batosai, and he's just a retired hitman. And his past again comes back to haunt him, and he can't outrun it. And you just see the stark contrast between people that knew him in his previous life and people that know him now, and just the complete difference. And it's the same thing with Sakamoto. As the series progresses, he meets more and more people from his past that are so surprised of his change because they used to fear this man. Because Sakamoto, they spoke of Sakamoto the same way rappers speak about King.
He was dead, bro. If he wanted you out of there, he'll go do it himself on feet by himself.
The only reason King Von was free, the witnesses came up dead a day before the trial.
Something was wrong with him. That's not human, man. You're not regular, man. was the devil, man. That was the devil, man.
Vaughn. Like, that is how much fear Sakamoto invoked in the Hitman world. And the same thing happens in Rurouni Kenshin. Everybody knows who he is. And it's pretty funny considering Kenshin was like 15 when all of this happened. And Sakamoto was like, I think he retired at like 22. So they did all these crazy things relatively young. One thing that I find pretty cool that they did is that they used the level 100 main character instead of the usual level 1. So I'm going to explain what this is. In a story, usually you start with the main character being relatively weak compared to the people he'll be facing, and as the story progresses, the enemies progress in strength, and he also progresses in strength and becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. With the level 100 main character, you start with the character already have lived a life that you could have technically made another series about, and already being pretty much at the pinnacle of his powers. That is the same thing with Rurouni Kenshin. It's the same thing with One Punch Man especially, and with Sakamoto Days. Sakamoto is retired. He's already pretty strong, especially early on. Nobody really puts him in danger. You never feel that Sakamoto is going to die because he is just so much stronger than whoever he faces. And that comes with its difficulties, because if you don't feel like your character is struggling, it's kind of hard to make the reader or watcher feel compelled when he's watching the person fight. One manhwa that is synonymous with this is Solo Leveling. So again, this is going to be spoilers, so for those who have not watched or read Solo Leveling, do not listen to this part. I'm going to put in a timestamp so you can skip it. I'm going to have to do a video on Solo Leveling because I think it's like really fun. It's a really fun read. But one flaw, and I think its biggest flaw, is that Sung Jin-woo is too strong for the plot. There comes a point in this series where he is so much stronger than anybody else that he meets that you never really feel like he is going to lose. And the time that he does lose, it kind of feels forced. And that is one thing that can happen once you have a character that is so much stronger than the rest of the cast. So back to Sakamoto Days. Sakamoto is a lot stronger than anybody that he faces up to a certain point. Once you reach the 100, 120 chapters, you start meeting people that are the same level, if not stronger, than Sakamoto. And just the sheer fact that the author can proceed to give us a compelling story, even though the main character is very strong, is a testament to his talent at writing. One other thing that I find that is pretty cool is that the deuteragonist, which is Shin, kind of follows more the main character mold, you know? He is not as strong as Sakamoto. He is still pretty young. He's relatively young. I think he's 21 once the series begins. I'm not sure. He's in his early 20s. And he meets his mentor, and he is the one who progressively gets stronger. He is the one who is maturing mentally. So you could kind of argue that he's kind of the main character, or at least fits more the mold of a traditional main character than the actual main character, which is Sakamoto. Especially for those who are reading the manga, these recent chapters, Shin has been going crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really excited to see where the author is going to take his character. So for the last part of this video, I'm going to be talking about my favorite arcs. I won't be talking exactly about my favorite moments since Sakamoto Days is relatively new and I don't want to include too many spoilers, so I'm just going to include my favorite arcs. So my favorite arc, or one of my favorite arcs in no specific order, is the JCC transfer exams. So I'm going to put in a little bit of context. Usually, if done right, exams in anime usually go crazy. Everybody knows about the tuning exams and the hunters exams. Those are two of the best arcs in shonen ever, like period. If somebody were to ask me to name the best shonen arcs, hunters exams and tuning exams, especially the tuning exams, gotta be at least like top 15. Like, and it's not 15. Like, it's really, really, really good. And the transfer exams are crazy. Just the beginning. I'm gonna put in a little bit of context. The reason they have to go to pass the JCC transfer exams is because they're trying to infiltrate the school so they can find something about one of the main villain's past. So they all go in this airplane, and then the airplane just crashes, and then they're on this island, and they're just trying to survive. That arc is really good. The tension, the cool new characters that we meet, and obviously the fights being awesome, because Sakamoto Days so far has had consistently, like, at worst, A-tier fights. If Sakamoto's fighting, it's an S-tier fight. Like, if Sakamoto's fight, especially if he goes skinny, note this: if Sakamoto goes skinny, the fight is gonna be insane. So far, the fights have been excellent, and they are really good in the transfer exams. I'm not sure if they're going to be included in this season, but it may be two or three seasons. I'm pretty sure they're going to include the exams. And for the next arc, I'm going to be talking about the JCC infiltration arc. So basically what happens is when Sakamoto disguises himself as a teacher to enter the academy. Again, excellent fights, excellent characters, and something that's like pretty cool is that you get to see Sakamoto reminiscing of his student days, because up until now we don't really know about his past. All we know about him is that he was a hitman and that he was really good at his job. We don't really know a lot about him. So as he's interacting with the students, as he's walking around the halls of the school, he starts to reminisce about when he himself was attending the school. And that is going to lead into the arc after that, which is the Sakamoto flashback arc, which also is really good. One other thing I want to talk about is that we potentially have a awesome group in anime. You know, like villain groups, even though this group is not really a group of villains, but you know, groups in animes, you know, we love them. You know, you got the Akatsukis, you got the Espada, you have the Spiders, you have the Ten Commandments, you have the Seven Deadly Sins, you know, you got the Z Fighters. We love our teams, you know, in anime. And in this manga, we have the Order. So the Order are basically the all NBA team if the JCC Association was the NBA. They are the hymn of hymns. They are the best hitmen of the JCC. They joined the Order, and they're in charge with cleanup. Something you learn is that Sakamoto himself was also part of the Order before he retired. And the members of the Order, my goodness, every time you see them, something crazy is going to happen. Like, something ridiculous is going to happen. And if they fight, oh my goodness, their fights are ridiculous. I don't think we're going to get any Order fights in season 1, but I'm telling you, later on, I can't sell this enough. Their fights are some of the coolest, most creative, most entertaining. Like, there's one character, his weapon is a hammer and a nail. There's another character, her weapon is a buzzsaw. Yes, just a buzzsaw. She just fights with a buzzsaw. Like, it is so cool. So they don't necessarily have that much of a deeper meaning when it just comes to cool characters. The Order is pretty darn cool. Now, I'm not saying they're the Akatsuki. I'm not saying they're the Black Spiders. I'm not saying they're the Espadas. Even though, to be honest, they low-key got more aura than the Espada. Like, let's be honest. And the Espada, aside from... I was going to say Stark. But Stark didn't really do much. Aside from Grimjo and Ulquiorra, you don't really care about the other Espadas. Whilst in the Order, like, there are clearly like Order members that you like prefer than others, but pretty much every single one of them that we see are pretty cool. I'm gonna be honest. So, yep, that was my video about Sakamoto Days, one of my favorite new gens. I hope the anime is good. Like, I'm really praying. Like, I was seeing all over Twitter, people are like, no, this opening looks trash, and they were mad at the opening, the animation at the opening. Like, honestly, opening animation, don't really care, but I really hope they do this anime justice. Please don't do it the way y'all did Blue Lock and Record of Ragnarok. Like, just please just animate it correctly, and I promise you, y'all will have a massive hit. Like, I know it's gonna be a hit. So yeah, that was my video on it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, peace out.